Hey, welcome in. It's the PHNX Cardinals podcast, your premier Arizona Cardinal podcast. Like and subscribe. Leave us a 5-star wherever you get your programming. I'm Johnny Venerable. He is Brack. Become a diehard. Go PHNX.com. Pick up a free hat and or t-shirt every single year. You're a diehard. I'm a diehard for the NFL offseason, which officially feels like it begins right now. Brack, we are just 1 week away from the NFL Combine, which we will be in attendance for. How we living today on a football Monday?
Still kind of trying to find myself. I mean, after the first true football Sunday or Sunday without football, felt lost. I really did. And I think, Monday, we're still picking up the pieces. Can't play Monday morning quarterback after any game today. So I'm just kind of going to the grocery store and critiquing how people put my groceries in the bag. Said, hey, maybe you should have just kept the produce with the produce, no meat with the produce. And they kicked me out of Sprouts, quite frankly. And still trying to find my way. But, the closer we get to actual free agency, the closer we get to the NFL draft, I think the better and better I'm going to feel, the more, at peace I'm going to feel. But what's up to the chat? I see Didi. I see John Paul Edward De Dios out there, one of the best names in the chat. TJ, Brian Burns, you are a Cardinal. I like that energy. Mark, what's up? And Dave, fantastic energy in the chat. And it's a great way to start this PHNX Cardinals week.
We are attempting to put together the free agency puzzle and the offseason puzzle for the Arizona Cardinals. And every single day you're in attendance for this show, hoping to shed some clarity on what our precious Redbirds are set to do and maybe not do, Brock, ahead of March free agency and the NFL draft. So very apropos, the NFL tag opening to the start of that deadline begins tomorrow. Not only the franchise tag, transition tag, and it's bringing up a lot of players, right? A lot of players not specific to the Cardinals because, frankly, they don't have a ton of players that you'd apply a tag to, given the lack of talent on the roster. But one name in particular that has come up for the Cardinals in conversations for whatever reason here in the Valley is somebody like Mike Evans. And it was reported earlier today by our guy, friend of the program, Jordan Schultz, that Mike Evans, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, while they continue to try to work on a deal, they remain far apart. This is according to Schultz. Sources say Tampa is set to take on $7.4 million in dead money and may not be getting a deal done today. Talks will continue. My understanding is Evans is trending toward becoming a free agent, barring an unexpected change in discussions. Of course, Evans is over 30. I think he's eventual Hall of Famer. Here's what this show is prepared to tell you today. The Arizona Cardinals are not in on Mike Evans at all. And we'll have a greater conversation about will they be in on any high-profile free agent wide receivers. We can tell you definitively per sources, like Mike Evans is not a target of the Arizona Cardinals, despite the need at receiver. They are much, much more likely, Bo, to, of course, take advantage of this robust receiving class in the NFL draft. They like what they have in Michael Wilson. We'll talk about Hollywood Brown and how that factors in here in a little bit. But Mike Evans, unequivocally not a target of the Cardinals.
Yeah, I think Mike Evans is a guy that's going to continue to make big plays at the NFL level. But, he's going to have to find kind of a niche team that's going to sign him, because you've got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, where he's had an incredibly comfortable home the last couple of years, where he took home a Super Bowl. He's gone over 1,000 yards receiving, and he continues to play at a high level entering his 30s. But you're going to have to find a team a la, the Tennessee Titans last offseason, who was willing to take a chance on a guy like DeAndre Hopkins, or a wide receiver needy Baltimore Ravens team that's going to want to go out there and pay close to market value and bring in a guy like Mike Evans, where I think a team that's in the second year of a rebuild, or even a team like Tampa that business-wise is realizing, hey, investing a ton of money in a guy over 30 at this position that's a young man's position, probably not a good investment. It's not, there's one Larry Fitzgerald and there's only another Jerry Rice, right? And they are the exception to the rule, but most likely at some point, production is going to fall off a cliff, and you need to be prepared for it in a cap league. It's tough to make and rebound from mistakes like that. So it's unfortunate because, Mike Evans is playing so well still, but yeah, it's not shocking to me to hear that it's confirmed now that Mike Evans is not on the short list for the Arizona Cardinals to revamp the position. And I'll say this, Johnny, Mike Evans, like you and I we both saw that wasn't a fit, right?
No.
Not based on the player and the production, but based on the age and the salary that he'll likely command. I will say this to Cardinals fans. I think you need to buckle up, because as far as the wide receiver position before the draft, and it's a long way to go, you're not going to have a lot of answers for that position, I would think.
A great point.
You got 3 guys under contract, potentially 4. We'll see what they do with Greg Dortch, but that's not a whole lot of comfort. That's not going to make you feel warm and fuzzy inside. Thinking about Kyler Murray's weapons up until April 25th, when they select a guy like Marvin Harrison Jr. potentially 4th overall.
Joe Sanders checking in from London. Fantastic. Love the show, guys. Thank you, Joe. Appreciate it. I love London. Would love to go there sometimes. Maybe you could hook us up, Joe. But in all seriousness, thanks for tuning in. Baja Road 3, if Monty passes up on Evans and misses out on Marvin Harrison Jr., then it's either a fail. He's just waiting on 2025. I would say that they're gonna get a receiver in the draft. And it's difficult because I feel this comment. Very much so. I watched this team failure to complete passes mostly during the month of December. So I understand this receiving core needs to be elevated. This front office and coaching staff, frankly, feels good about their ability to draft and develop this position. Now, we have been immune to that because Steve Keim was such a debacle at drafting the position outside of a lone hit on Christian Kirk, who he allowed to leave. I think we need to be patient and feel good about, like, this class is loaded. We feel good that there's going to be an option or 2 at number 4. And if not, hopefully an option at 27 and or 35. But again, I'm very much of the mindset. There's 2 receivers you love, 1 at 4, and then 1 on late on day 2, maybe early on day 3, you pull the trigger. I think this is a receiving core eventually that we're going to see be made up of all draftees. I mean, how great would that be? That you can fast forward like 18 months as a Cardinal fan, and we're watching Kyler Murray cook, and it's a homegrown receiving core. That's what you want, because it's a hot commodity position. You look at a guy like Calvin Ridley, which we're going to discuss. He's 29 years old. And I think I'm going to tell you right now, like, he's going to get paid a decent amount. The Cardinals don't want to play in a sandbox where they have to pay a 29-year-old Calvin Ridley on his 3rd team to come and be their number 1 receiver. So this is how you build the team the right way. Mm-hmm. Now, does that mean they're not going to go out and ever address the position if the right, opportunity came along and there was a familiarity? Absolutely. But if there's ever a year to, like, not splurge on a receiver, it's this year. This draft class. I mean, we're going to do a mock draft, dueling mock drafts later on in the show, Bo, but you just see every time we do a mock, you look at top 100 big boards. This is one of the best classes in recent memory. Certainly it's in half a decade at the position. And the Cardinals are going to do their due diligence on these guys to be able to come in and craft their own narrative. Be in your early 20s with your best football in front of you. Like, respectfully to Mike Evans, like, he's a Hall of Famer, but his best football's behind him. You really want to invest in that? I don't.
Yeah, when you're a rebuilding team, you don't want to be the organization that pays a guy for previous performance. That's just going to be that's the toughest pill to swallow, I think, in sports, where you see across the major sports where teams ink these players that hit free agency finally, and their current team isn't reluctant to let go. And that should be a red flag right there. And I just, like, I watched Mike Evans play throughout the season. He played fantastic. He was
awesome.
He was. But we know just the ugly reality in the NFL that could change that at the drop of a hat. And I think that the smart organizations are unwilling to pay top dollar for that. And you'll see far often than not, like, the teams that do in the offseason, like, they're sitting there in October and November like, we made a mistake, and they're going to have to pay for it the following offseason, either making a tough decision as far as dead money that they're going to have to absorb in cap dollars, or, taking kind of a lopsided trade where, a more talented player exits and you're set there kind of having to pay the check.
Get to super chat here. This is from our friend Alex, $4.99. Do you think guys thinking Budda could be a cap casualty like Mike Jurecki tweeted, even after all the praise JG and Monty gave him? Mm-hmm. I don't follow Mike Jurecki. Here's what I'll tell you, Alex. This show has kind of been alluding to the fact they're going to look at everybody's contract. We did a show in early January discussing that very option. Their preference is to have Budda Baker on the team. Bo, I think we're in the same mindset where this is probably going to be Budda's last year on the team, assuming he's back. But I mean, like, they're paying big money to a pair of safeties, and they got needs everywhere. So they're going to look at everything. So it wouldn't surprise me one way or the other, but I will lean toward keeping him.
Yeah, I would lead. I would bet that they're going to lean towards keeping him as well. And I think there's some guys on that defense that might have a bit of that luxury. But I would say anybody that's saying that and coloring up is reporting they're just throwing darts. They're looking at a cap number, and they probably spend more time tweeting and shading this podcast than they actually do around the organization. So I'll take what Johnny has insight on and what other reporters have insight on. And, I mean, Budda Baker, I would say that the relationship they've mended it significantly since last offseason. Obviously at this point last year, this is when the reported trade request came. And, obviously he got back in that building. He saw what JG was about. He saw about what the culture shift was. And he was all on board with that. And you saw Budda Baker show up as much as we've seen Budda Baker show up since he was drafted in 2017. And I think that he's just somebody that, it wouldn't make a whole lot of sense to just cut. Or, I don't know if you're going to find a fair trade in return for a guy like Budda. So it's just the most logical move forward would be with him on the roster.
Arthur, trade Budda. We can still get a third or a fourth round pick for him. As much as I love that avatar, Arthur, I disagree. Here's what I would say. If you go look at overthecap.com and the financial commitments for the Cardinals, they plummet after this season. Now that'll change. They're going to add some pieces in free agency, but I think this is the perfect year to ride out Budda's contract and just say, hey, we're going to pay you this year. We're trying to make the playoffs. Certainly you're a better team with Budda than without. And it's not like you're hampered by Budda's contract that doesn't exist past this year. And what he's able to bring to that locker room, you can't quantify, you can't measure. And I also think this defense is going to be a unit on the rise with the influx of talent, hopefully, that they bring in the front seven. You want to make sure your back seven's in good shape. You want to make sure your secondary is good to go. So I think if this was the Cardinals last year and they were discussing it and you could maybe get a second round pick for a team that needed every draft pick imaginable, I think that was the time to do, as somebody mentioned in the chat. But yeah, a third or a fourth, which is probably, you're probably looking at closer to a fourth rounder with how people devalue safeties. Just keep them, ride it out, and then, let him hit free agency next year. Because I think you could also, Bo, project it to say, well, if he gets a nice little 3-year contract from somebody in free agency next year, you're going to be collecting a comp pick anyway. So they are not strapped for cash. Just keep the good players that you have. Try to win games this year. Win as many games as you can.
Yeah, and you look at the deal with the Eagles got a 5th round pick and a 6th in Terrell Edmonds for Kevin Byard. And as far as where you look at where players, their value, like this is no disrespect to Budda, but is he viewed and perceived as much better than a Kevin Byard who was with Tennessee, who made his way to Philly mid-season last year? I don't know. What are your thoughts on that, Johnny?
Yeah, probably a round or two in a trade and what he can bring from an enthusiasm, locker room leadership perspective. But like when you got guys like Garrett Williams and Keitrell Clark and, even some of the offensive players like leaning on Budda Baker, I just think it would be a deterrent to the locker room that I wouldn't think that Gannon and company would welcome. And I also feel like the Cardinals gave him a bump last year and Budda responded. And yeah, he missed some time, but he was a really good player for them. And I think he could have his best season to date, obviously under Jonathan Gannon. So I think everybody will feel good about, let's have a great year. Let's win as many games as possible. And then let's let Budda go and cash in free agency next year. Like why trade him to somebody for what I would consider a throwaway pick based on his value? Because any point when you're trading away a Budda Baker, the other team is going to be more excited than you are receiving pick 120 or whatever it is. Like you have 3 third rounders plus pick 105 at the top of the 4th. I was of the mindset last year, if they were going to do it, rip the Band-Aid off, get a top 60 pick and move on, because that season was what it was. They didn't. They stuck with it. So you need to see this throughout the rest of his contract. JJ in the chat, what about Michael Pittman Jr. to pair with Marvin Harrison Jr.? I love the juniors, co-juniors. Here's what I'll say. I don't think Michael Pittman, number one, hits the market. He was the anchor to that passing game and helped Indianapolis overachieve. And you also have to think, like, I think they view Michael Wilson as a starter. How many outside receivers can you sign and have? Like, you get MHJ, there are your two outside receivers. Like, you want depth, obviously, but like, that's it. That's who you're rolling with. And then you're going to have to figure out the slot.
If you were presented with the opportunity to sign a guy like Michael Pittman Jr., I think you do it, right?
Yeah.
But I just don't think it's going to present itself. I know his dad played a lot of great downs for the Arizona Cardinals in the late 90s and early 2000s, but
he's awesome.
Michael Pittman, I just don't think Indianapolis is going to relinquish its grasp on the former USC product. He was outstanding last year. I mean, it seemed like each and every week you could just kind of pen him in for 8 to 10 catches a game. I mean, he was catching the ball at the end of the year from Gardner Minshew. I mean, this was not, Anthony Richardson and there's slinging in his rookie season. It was Gardner Minshew, career backup, that made Pittman look like an undeniable number one receiver. I just don't. Indianapolis will pay him. I just don't think he's going to hit the open market. That's the biggest issue. I mean, that's kind of the open of the show is that there's just nobody out there. I mean, in the top tier that the Arizona Cardinals are going to sniff around because the top guys like T. Higgins at the very least is going to get franchise tagged, and the Bengals are going to maybe flip him or sign him to extension. Same thing goes for Pittman. I think he at the least gets tagged and plays on the tag, but most likely gets tagged and then signs a huge extension. And then Evans is going to be maybe the guy that actually hits the open market, but over 30. Is that the smart move of a rebuilding team, of a team that's going to be primarily a draft and develop team? Are they going to tie up money in a veteran like Evans? I really don't think that's going to happen.
I just feel like with where the Cardinals are situated with the 4th overall pick, and I saw somebody earlier, I don't want to ignore it, ask about Malik Neighbors, and I definitely think that's an option, assuming you could get him at 4, trade back. But I also feel like the Cardinals, once Kyler Murray came back and they were able to win, 3 out of 8 and almost win 500, like, you pushed your pick out of a position where I think, like, let's say they got Caleb Williams 1st overall. Let's say they were playing in that sandbox and you wanted to get Caleb, a veteran receiver, to feel comfortable with down to down, and you weren't going to be able to target one of the top guys. Then maybe one of these guys makes sense. You reset the rookie clock, but it's like, Kyler Murray's making $50 million. Let him elevate rookies. Let him elevate draft picks. Like, I mean, look at who some of these guys are playing with. Like, Michael Pittman Jr. is playing with Anthony Richardson. He's a rookie. Calvin Ridley's been playing with Trevor Lawrence. That's why they traded for him. He was on a rookie deal. Mike Evans was playing with Baker Mayfield, making no money this year. And now they're going to have to pay Baker. And so what does that mean for Mike Evans? And then T. Higgins, like Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase. Jamar Chase is about to get paid. Like that. When people start getting paid, it muddles things up a little bit. And so that's why I think you look at those names. It's just, I think Carolina is probably in the catbird seat for everybody. And we talked about this on our audio only pod. Go check it out at gophnx.com that dropped last night. If you have minimal resources in the draft and got some money to spend, you're going to go and overpay for a receiver. If you've got somebody like Bryce Young that hasn't been very good in the NFL and needs targets and needs weapons. So to me, at the end of the day, it's just like Cardinals have, I think, slept on pass catchers and Trey McBride, Elijah Higgy Bear Higgins, and then Michael Wilson. You don't need a wholesale changes. You need an alpha, which they can get at 4, hopefully, and then just do some tweaking, do some adjusting. That you don't have to go spend $50 million guaranteed on an older receiver that another team lets walk. That would be a mistake, and they're not going to.
Our guy Brad Spielberger on PFF.com, he did have the Cardinals tied to a guy like Pittman, and it's just like, okay, if he becomes available, I really wouldn't be shocked if Monty's picking up the phone and just inquiring with his representation. But it just really does feel like the way that they're going to revamp that room is going to be through the draft, and everybody else is going to be depth pieces, because I think that there is a lot of confidence in the guy we talked to on Radio Row and Michael Wilson. And he showed, albeit sample size, last 2 games with Kyler Murray, that he can be a legit 2, right? And then you can figure out the slot position. But then you're adding guys, I think, as depth guys and then drafting, hopefully, your number 1 X receiver.
Baharo, another good comment here. We say Kyler elevates rookies. Well, that also comes back to Petsy and his ability to scheme wide receivers open, also relying on Wilson's health. There's a lot of hoping with that. And I get that. I also think that you can bank on Kyler Murray looking better off of a full year of recovery, a a full year of the offseason with Petsine. Same thing with Michael Wilson should have a pop year. I think everybody in the chat right now, if you got 15 games of Michael Wilson next year out of 17, like he's at least hitting what, 800, 900 yards next year. That's a damn good number 2 receiver. And then if you get your number 1, 4th overall, and then you have a Pro Bowl tight end, like that's pretty good for an NFL franchise. You're cooking with gas suddenly. No team is. This isn't the Cardinals circa 2008 with Kurt Warner when they had 1,000 yard receivers. Cardinals don't want to be built that way. They want to have 2 big physical outside receivers. They want a power back, and they want a franchise quarterback and a plus tight end. Here's what I will say. I don't know what they want from a slot receiver because at this point, they haven't extended their restricted tag to Greg Dortch.
Mm-hmm.
Is Zach Pascal their ideal slot receiver next year? He didn't show enough as a receiver this year. Had some miscues on some routes that cost the Cardinals points. Like, I feel like I know what they want at every position but slot, and that's a TBD. And maybe until like we're sitting here in the 4th round and they take some shifty slot receiver out of the Mountain West or something. You're like, oh, okay, now I see what they're doing.
Yeah. And then, I think offensively, when you look at like, it's similar to the wide receiver market, like the offensive line is going to be one where I think a ton of teams are going to be in on it. And the Arizona Cardinals, like, I would bet that they want to continue to build the trenches, because when you watch, the trenches the last couple of years, that's where the Arizona Cardinals, I mean, you've watched you feel like every year you're saying this as a Cardinals fans, like you want them to build the trenches. And I think that Monty Osford is a general manager that's finally the man for the job potentially. So like for them to go out there and kind of spend or overspend on these sports cars, I don't know if they will. I think that they would probably find like a steady washer and dryer combo than the nice souped up card payment that they're gonna have to pay the tab on each and every month.
We're sitting on a lot of good insight on this show that we're going to be able to allude to here in the coming weeks with regard to free agency. We'll give some out at the combine. Bo just kind of alluded to it, but here's something else the show is prepared to tell you today, is that the Arizona Cardinals, if they're going to make a big move offensively in free agency, it's going to be on the offensive line. And couldn't tell you a name, couldn't pinpoint what position, guard or tackle, but they have a sense of urgency to refortify probably what they lost in DJ Humphries. And this free agent offensive line class doesn't do a lot for me. Mm-hmm. So it could be another Yelda Froldholt mid-level extension, Will Hernandez style, but it would be very surprising if they got to the draft and didn't have 1 to 2 options to be able to plug and play, depending on how the board fell at 27 and 35. And I say that, Bo, as somebody who still expects them to go hard in the paint, front 7, defensive line, and potentially multiple mid-level corners. But I think everybody can buckle up for offensive line in free agency. They love this draft class. I don't even know if they even view wide receiver on the same level as offensive line in terms of need. But I think the trump card is the best player in the draft just happens to play receiver. Right. So that's going to dictate that pick. But
number-wise, sheer number-wise, they need to get wide receivers. I mean, because if it was different, right? I mean, it's say like Hollywood Brown was still under contract, right?
Right.
Or you had a couple, like 2 more bodies in that wide receiver room. They might just say, okay, we're, content as we can be, but we're always going to emphasize, building the lines, right? We're going to emphasize building lines. And we see, the defensive, talent disparity. There's a lot of work to be done there as well. But like with the strength of this draft happens to kind of fall in line with where the Arizona Cardinals, they have holes offensively, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, they've got what they feel is a strength at the quarterback position. They've got a strength at the running back position in James Conner. They got a strength at the tight end position. And they've got some pieces across the offensive line, including, rising second-year tackle Paris Johnson Jr. But they feel like, maybe there's some work to be done. And I think I would bet, Johnny, that that's going to probably be the feeling each and every offseason. And it should be. Like, it should be.
They're so well coached at that position unit, too. Like, when I hear some stuff through the tea leaves, when we talk about it off air, Bo, and it's like, man, that offensive line performance this year save for a couple instances, Cleveland or whatever, there was like the best unit the Cardinals have had collectively in like 10 years. They were dominant running the football. I thought their pass protection was really good at times this year. And to hear them say like, yeah, it's just not good enough. Like that's got to get you fired up. I see Ken's fired up in the chat right now. Love what we're talking about. It gets me fired up because again, you're not beating San Francisco and the LA Rams and Mike McDonald, who, I respect in Seattle with finesse football and 10 personnel, 4 wide receivers, everybody undersized. It's, it just, I don't know what they're going to do if Marvin's not there at pick 4, because now you've got reports of, the Chargers desperately want to trade out of 5. So it's going to get to a point where like everybody wants to trade out. Everybody wants more picks. But I do feel like I think their best course of action internally, they believe, is if Marvin's not there, to try to trade down, get picks, and get an offensive lineman. Like as much as I think Malik Neighbors is a top 5 player in this class, like I couldn't tell you tomorrow who they're going to draft. But I think that they feel like Marvin's in this tier. He's in a tier by himself. And then we really like this offensive line class. Let's splurge. Let's get some big men. So if you're looking to hedge your bet at pick 27 and 35, I would say there's a very high chance there's going to be linemen drafted by the Cardinals there.
And that's kind of the direction a lot of mock drafts have gone, right? It's like, okay, like we're going to splurge. We're going to splurge just because if we don't, we're crazy. Like any of the 32 franchises would be nuts, right? To let a talent of Marvin Harrison Jr.'s caliber, get through your fingers and into another team's lap. So I think that the Arizona Cardinals are going to do that and then get right back on their diet, right?
Yeah.
Right back. They had that one cheat meal, and they got the peanut butter cups from Trader Joe's. They're delicious, and you had
they're dark chocolate. They're solid.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
What do you mean? No, they're elite
for you.
They're elite. Okay.
Yeah. No. I'm just saying they're not that bad for you.
Exactly. Yeah, that's right. Whatever you justify it, you're in the Venerable household. That's fine. But you get right back on it, and you start building the trenches where you absolutely had to, and is encouraged. Like that's what you have to appreciate. That's what I really appreciate it, especially on the heels of what Johnny just gave us some tremendous insight, is that this team saw this offensive line. They got a good performance from it, and they're like, we need better. We know we can improve at that position, and they're willing to continue to move forward. Where I think fan base or prognosticators would be like, no, the offensive line is fine. Like they had this, they have Yelda, they've got Will Hernandez, they've got Paris Johnson Jr. But this organization is not going to be left being in a hole in week 6 when one of their tackles goes down, or one of their guards goes down, and I really appreciate that.
This franchise, which has made so much noise in September and October under Cliff Kingsbury, they won a game on December 3rd this year. And Kyler Murray had a 90 quarterback rating. This was a good day for Kyler. 90 quarterback rating. They ran for 150 yards on the ground. Their 2 leading receivers were 2 tight ends. Trey McBride had 90 yards. Elijah Higgins had 20 yards. They beat the Steelers by 2 touchdowns. Like, I don't think that's how they want to win every Sunday, but I think that's closer to who they want to be than
that's how Baltimore's been winning football.
That's how the Jared Goff and the Lions are winning games.
Yeah,
that travels. That does well to control the line of scrimmage against prolific offenses. I hate to say it, like San Francisco. And it always kind of gets me back to Marvin Harrison Jr. is my favorite player that we've scouted. We've watched over certainly since you and I have been doing the show together. But he's the outlier to, I think this is how they want to play football, and I would be scared if they got away from it. And hearing what we're hearing, it makes you feel good that they're not going to get away from that. Watching it in real time, it's like, oh, they have to play this way because of their personnel. No, they want to play this way. They want to run the football 25, 30, 35 times a game, assert their will, have a franchise quarterback under center, work off of play action, make some big plays in the passing game, have big physical receivers, and just wear you down. I mean, they held Pittsburgh to 10 points. Can anybody tell me who played on their defensive line that day? I couldn't. I think B.J. Ojulari was out there and Zaven Collins. So it just goes to show you, at the end of the day, they're just in such a better place as a franchise.
I don't just watch the tape. I experience it. I feel emotion.
Yeah.
Just so many different things. It's more than just, it's a religious experience. That's what it is. Watching number 18 for the Ohio State Buckeyes just terrorize Big Ten defenses. And I hope it's in Cardinal red and white, but
Yeah.
the other stuff's all good as well. And it's nice to get a bit of a departure from it, because like it does get into when we didn't know, right? Where all signs weren't pointing towards, what the first three teams are going to do, or really where the Cardinals were going to be locked in as far as the top 5 of the draft. Like,
Yeah.
hey, a tackle could be an option. And like, you can talk yourself into a reality where it's like, hey, this would be really good for the franchise. I mean, it's not Marv level, but it'd be really good for the direction of the organization.
You don't think Kyler Murray trusts them to develop offensive linemen after what they did last year with Paris and signing Yelda Froholt? Like,
Yeah,
everybody's got bought in with what they're doing, and it's like
after he tried to get the previous regime, like, hey man,
Kyler
Wirfs looks pretty good. He's like, it's all right, I got you. I'm gonna get you a Swiss Army knife out of Clemson. Like, oh, cool, thanks, man.
You mean the guy that played 24% of the snaps as a rookie? Yeah, Kyler wouldn't have to worry about Austin Ford passing on Tyler Lindenbaum. Topic 64, men's friend of the program, $4.99. Good to see you, my guy. I don't know, guys. Kind of feeling we need another receiver. If our number 1 and number 2 receivers get hurt, we should have plug-and-play guys ready to go. I think they will. But, like, there's going to be a drop-off. But I'm with you. Like, you take Marv at 4, and then at some point later in the draft, you draft a receiver. Good for, like, Jawan Jennings, almost Super Bowl MVP, was drafted in the 7th round. Puka Nacua was a 5th-round pick. Like, I have confidence Austin Ford and Gannon and company, Dave Sears, they can find a chain mover in the middle to late rounds. You have so many picks. Go get somebody else. Just doesn't have to be with 27 or 35.
Would you be content with, like, obviously we're all sitting here and we want Marv, right? We want Maserati Marv, because that's just like, that's daydreaming. That's winning the lottery type daydreaming, right? But what would I tell you if they got another Michael Wilson? What if you added another Michael Wilson as receiving core? What would it do for the offense? What would it do for the offense?
I mean, and like Joe Alt?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. So we're talking about, you trade down, you get more picks, you get Joe Alt or
whatever the circumstances are up front. You didn't get Marv, and you end up getting the wide receiver later. What if you got, day 2? That's where you got a wide receiver, and he's a Michael Wilson caliber wide receiver.
I think
that's enough to go with the run game, Kyler's skill set, Trey McBride, and Wilson himself. I think that would be enough for a steady offense.
Yeah, I think you'd have to lean on the run game a little bit more early in the season. You wouldn't be ready to open things up quite a bit. But I also think, like, I'm underestimating how good Kyler's going to look with Elijah Higgins and Trey McBride and Michael Wilson. I think in that scenario, what you just outlined, I think bringing back a Greg Dortch would be a must then. And people will laugh at that. Like, Greg Dortch was their number 1 receiver at the end of the year. Like, if you had Dortch and Michael Wilson, and let's just say, like, the kid out of Oregon fell to you at 35, or it took, Jerry Rice's son at some point, like, you felt like that's going to be the next heir apparent, Hollywood Brown. Yeah. I mean, it's not my first choice. But again, they're all only good options. Right. Like Illadre points out here, $4.99. I like building the trenches offensively. Look how much more efficient Kyler was this year. He was the most efficient when the light turned on. And I don't want, that's not putting Kyler down. It was just like, he just felt more comfortable in the offense, and he looked good coming off an ACL than he's ever looked before. Yeah. Really, outside of his MVP start in 2021. So right. I'm with you. Like, if you gifted him either Marvin Harrison Jr. or Joe Alt or Alu Fashanu or Malik Neighbors, like, it's a investment in Kyler Murray. And that's a good thing. You should always invest in your franchise quarterback, and they will.
Yeah. Some questions here, some comments in the chat. Animal TV saying Dortch should 100% be back. Somebody, was it Jalen Blair, saying, I need a little bit more than Michael Wilson. And I don't disagree with that. And I think that maybe just a little bit more Michael Wilson extra, right? Like Mr. Pibb
maybe
extra.
Somebody with a little bit more frontline speed.
Right.
Maybe just a smidge faster.
And plays the X, right? Then Jalen Blair coming back. Bo and Johnny, did we get invited to meet the coach GM thing cards last week? I think that was strictly season ticket holders.
Yeah, it was a fan event, which is awesome that the Cardinals did that. No, but here's what we do have. This time next week, we're going to be going to Indianapolis, and we're going to get to chat as a group collectively with Monty Ossenford and Jonathan Gannon at the podium. So we will be fielding questions from you all as we get closer. What do you want us to ask the GM and the head coach? And we will pose those questions. We did it last year.
Yeah, definitely. And load up the Discord, the member Discord, diehard member Discord with those questions as well. We'll get those top of the list. Prodigy
I asked about uniforms last year. Remember that? Everybody wanted to ask about uniforms. And we got them. So maybe ask about Marvin. We'll get Marvin.
Yeah. They didn't escort you out of the building, which I thought was a step in the right direction. Even Monty Ossenfort was just like, look at this guy. The guy's asking me about uniforms. I just started the job. I'm trying to tear down this mess of a roster and get it going in the right direction. You want me to know about what they're going to wear each and every Sunday? Prodigy Jones and Xavier Legette, good wide receiver. Absolutely. Xavier Legette, he even admitted he's boys with Deebo Samuel. They talk weekly. And Legette was a guy that, struggled the first day of Senior Bowl, but kind of found his way. I think as far as him getting the separation necessarily at the next level is going to be key for him, but he's got the size. He measured a little bit shorter than people anticipated. He's listed at 6'3", but I think he's more about 6'1", but he plays big. Ken Weber said, I want Dortch back. So do we. Great stuff in the chat already.
We got so much to talk about. The Cardinals going to target a couple ex-Patriots now. Justin Fields trade appears to be imminent. But first, I got to tell you about our friends at BetMGM. Bet 5, get 150 feels pretty imminent for new customers. In fact, it's a reality using the bonus code PHNX. All you got to do, download the BetMGM Sportsbook app. I hope nobody wagered on that NBA All-Star game last night, if you could. But if you did, do it with our friends at BetMGM. We've got spring training games right around the corner. Of course, the NHL in full effect. Our Coyotes, our precious Coyotes, having a tough time, but we're having fun with our friends at BetMGM. Bet 5, get 150 in bonus bucks. You got to download the BetMGM Sportsbook app on your iOS, Android, or check them out at BetMGM.com. Sign up and deposit at least $5 in your newly created account. Place a wager in an amount of $5 on any standard odds price. Once you have placed your bet, you're going to receive 150 in bonus bets, regardless of the outcome of your wager. So if I place a 5 spot on the Coyotes money line, they hit, I get my winnings plus my bonus bets. If I don't win, I just get my bonus bets. We're still having a great time. An exclusive deal. Tell them PHNX Cardinals sent you with that bonus code PHNX. Check out the show notes for full details. Now listen to my guy Damon Dog talk about it in the disclaimer.
From call 1-800-GAMBLER. Available in the U.S. Call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369 New York. Call 1-800-327-5050 Massachusetts. 21 plus to wager. Please gamble responsibly. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP Arizona. 1-800-BETS-OFF Iowa. 1-800-270-7117 for confidential help Michigan. 1-800-981-0023 Puerto Rico in partnership with Kansas Crossing Casino and Hotel. Visit BetMGM.com for terms. This promotional offer is not available in New York, Nevada, Ontario, or Puerto Rico.
Daytona just wrapped up, right? Wasn't it the Super Bowl racing this weekend? And then you've got, of course, NASCAR coming to town at Phoenix Raceway. Get your tickets right now. You're not going to want to miss out on the good vibes. In the best in-class fan experience when racing's toughest drivers have 3 days of action, all surrounded, of course, by those beautiful Estrella Mountains. Picturesque out there. If you haven't experienced it yet, what are you doing? Take the entire family. Spring break at Phoenix Raceway, probably the most economical way to have fun here in the Valley or for spring break. Perfection is the introduction to NASCAR with affordable ticket pricing for all families. Check out those grandstand tickets. There's not a bad seat in the house, whether you're a diehard racing fan or simply looking for a fantastic day out in the sun. This event promises to be fun for everyone, from live entertainment, fan hospitality areas, and immersive infield experience. If you haven't checked out the renovated Phoenix Raceway, what are you doing? Go get tickets. Shriners Children's 500, Phoenix Raceway, March 8th through 10th. Less than a month away. Promise to be a weekend of good vibes for the whole family. Get your reserved grandstand tickets now at phoenixraceway.com.
Phoenix Raceway elite time. So much fun stuff to do here in the Valley. We're very blessed this time of year. 70 degrees, tons of stuff going on. Fresh off the waste management. We got fun stuff going on here at PHNX throughout the course of the spring. A lot of people asking us about our draft party. I promise you're going to have the details before anybody else. We can't wait to see you guys all come late April for what's going to be the best draft party here in the Valley. But I digress. Before the draft, we got to hit free agency. And Bo, dare the Cardinals care to dabble on a couple now ex-New England Patriots defensive linemen now that Monty Ossenford, with ties to New England, has a little bit more, let's just say, a robust salary cap to work with. Do you see these two individuals, Lawrence Guy, being of interest for the Arizona Cardinals?
Yeah, Lawrence Guy, I mean, 33 years old. He obviously won a championship. He went from a former Arizona State Sun Devil, seventh
Mhm.
round pick, journeyman, to really being one of the best players on that defensive line for a while. But 33, it's just one of those things where, like, if he somehow comes in at the right price, or Jonathan Gannon, Monty Ossenfort view him as a rotational person that can come in and fill a role, sure. But is he going to be the guy that he's going to be the big ad for your defensive line this offseason? I just don't think that that's what it's going to be. But if it's somebody whose market doesn't materialize and the Arizona Cardinals can get him at a decent price, I think they will. But because of his age, and we'll see what he commands. And obviously people looking for defensive linemen all over the place. I think the Arizona Cardinals probably aren't, the perfect fit for him.
Yeah, Adrian Phillips, a safety, 31 years old, also released. I think a lot of these guys, the Lawrence guys of the world, no pun intended, are going to have to wait a hot minute. I think like we're going to see these players that are promptly released. Yeah, they let them have a head start on the market. I don't think their market's going to materialize for a little bit. Once you get out of that first couple waves of free agency, like the first, let's just say so free agency basically opens up March 11th. Like we get to the end of March, like the money's dried up for the most part. Like you're not getting huge multi-year deals. And especially if you're over 30 years old. So I think the Cardinals would be best served to get at least one legitimate starter on a multi-year contract at defensive tackle. You've got Dante Stills. We hope to the football lords that they're going to draft at least a defensive tackle. And then you can just go out and get a Lawrence guy in May.
Yeah.
You can get a couple guys like the LJ Colliers of the world. And I know he didn't work out, but you know what I mean? At times
That's what Philly did, right? I mean,
Right.
that's how they built the rotation. Like they drafted, they've developed. Sure, they were blessed with a guy like Fletcher Cox on the roster already.
Yeah.
But they then they added like an Ndamukong Suh later down the line, and that's the type of where I think guys going as far as his career.
Yeah, I underestimate, you just brought it up, the rotation that they have. And it's like, okay, they invested in Jalen Carter. They invested in so many Jordan, what's his name?
Davis.
They invested in so many premium defensive tackles, and that being Howie Roseman. So I'm just assuming, well, the Cardinals are going to do that. What if they don't do that? What if they're like, we're just going to add mid-level guys and hope that we hit on some top 50 draft picks? So I'm being serious. Like,
Yeah.
are they ever? I don't know if they're ever going to put all their eggs into one defensive lineman basket. Like, I maybe their mindset. And listen, their run defense didn't support it last year, but the way they play defense down the stretch, like, is Gannon's defense and the brilliance of Nick Rallis, like, is it built to succeed with just slightly above average defensive tackle play? And then you get your horses on the edge. Like maybe that's where they go eventually. So that's the one piece that as we search for answers in March, who are they targeting, how much money, like I know they're going to add defensive linemen, but what sandbox, what tier are they going to be playing in? And how are they going to prioritize a unit that, like, the more I do digging on, it's just like, yeah, we're going to let this market come to us.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, Monty Ossenfort was part of the Tennessee organization that had Jeffrey Simmons, and I think he sees the value, regardless of and he is a matchmaker as far as coach and scheme and free agents, right? But I think he understands that you got to have at least part of that crew a game wrecker, and in order to get that, if you don't already have it in house, which Gannon did inherit with Cox, albeit that there was differences between player and coach at times, but still a dynamic player. You need to acquire one at some point, and maybe they view like we do, like, hey, you could get a Byron Murphy II, a Tavondre Sweat, a Chris Jenkins, a Darius Robinson that could do that for you. But man, you got a lot has to go right for one of those guys to be available, and for one of those guys to actually be the guy, right?
Yeah.
So I think that there will be some additions, just like the wide receiver core. Like it's not going to be highlighted by any of the people that they add in free agencies, but they could be, because I think that they will go as far as rebuilding that spot through the draft. So it's just going to be a sludge potentially. And like, if it's a guy, just know Lawrence guy, then you're like, okay, he's just a part of the puzzle. He's not the lead dude.
That guy, Angelo 187, $5 super chat. Hey guys, just wanted to say, love the podcast. Long time Spotify listener. I listen to you guys every day at work. Keep up the good work. I'll be listening. Thank you so much, Angelo.
Awesome.
We appreciate that. The comments like this are why we do it. Super chat, so kind and generous. I don't think Justin Fields feels the way that Angelo does about our podcast. However, as we've been pretty adamant, Justin Fields is going to be Wally pipped, so to speak, by Caleb Williams. It feels like that day is quickly approaching. We were talking about it last week. Hey, how about this? This is Ben Devine out of Chicago, giving us an expert from Albert Breer that basically says what we've been speculating, both that the Chicago Bears have already discussed the trade value of Justin Fields. Oh, how about that? With other teams at the Senior Bowl. And it makes sense if you're going to trade Fields, do it soon. So, is Justin Fields traded before the start of free agency on March 11th?
Yeah, probably. I think that, if they're discussing it and setting the groundwork for it, around Senior Bowl, it's only going to continue and ramp up next week at the Combine. And then you've only got a couple more days between Combine and when free agency in the new league year begins. And you have to start to account for, salary cap and all those different things and really start to solidify your draft board. So I don't see this as in Ryan Poles. We know he likes to work fast. He traded that first overall pick pretty quickly.
We got back from the Combine last year and it was gone. Yeah,
it was well before the actual draft. So I think that he wants to really kind of put in place and get his organization going the direction it's going for that given season.
You also don't want these teams to fall in love with a quarterback prospect at the Combine, at pro days, where it seems like, you know what, I like Justin Fields initially, but I think we can get Bo Nix.
Are we already seeing like Pittsburgh try to somehow negotiate with what's been in the news lately? We're like, we want to move forward with Kenny Pickett. We want to move forward potentially with Mason Rudolph. It's like, dude, really? Like you're gonna put your fan base through that?
That's saying we don't want to give you our first. How about a second and a sweetener or something like that? For the Chicago Bears to be shopping up at the Senior Bowl, which you were at the Senior Bowl in January, right? You and Damon Dog. So that like Caleb Williams has been a Chicago Bear for like at least 6 to 8 weeks. Like for people who are still saying they're speculating, and yet the president of the Bears coming out and saying we like Justin Fields. Yeah, you like him enough to shop him while you're in Alabama a month and a half before the NFL Combine. I mean, it's laughable. I mean, Caleb, all I watch on my Twitter indirectly is just the recommended videos are like people talking about how ridiculous Caleb Williams highlights are. And like, we're able to like take a 5,000 foot view now that he's had a couple of years at the collegiate level. It's like, yeah, he is a generational kind of blue chip prospect that you don't keep a guy with a 30% winning percentage at the pro level for. And so of course this is going to happen, and it's going to provide that much more clarity. And then it's like, it's that Grim Reaper gif where it's just like the Bears will be settled. And now
going door to door.
Right. And then we go to the Commanders. I saw a report that the Commanders are like talking about moving off Sam Howell. I'm like, I definitely think that's a possibility. Like he was part of the old group. Like, could Sam Howell net them a draft pick? Yeah.
What? Move off of Sam Howell? No way.
You'd be smart ass.
We've been talking about a quarterback to Washington without it's like a single fiber of doubt that they're going to go quarterback. Like what would be the point? He's just going to stand there and hold a clipboard.
I forgot Sam Howell and Drake May were both at UNC, and then
I thought you were going to just say existed. I thought you were just going to say I forgot about Sam Howell's complete existence.
No, he beat the Cardinals week 1. I definitely remember that. We're working our way down. I still feel I know there's speculation locally.
When's it going to come out? When's it going to come out? Because he's now in a unique position. I love this for Cliff. When's he going to come out and say, Sam's our guy? When's he going to give him the
He's not allowed to do that.
The Josh Rosen kiss of death.
Quinn would never
do it. History repeats itself, Johnny. It's going to happen again in DC.
We're going to be eating so good next week with quotes from these guys. I wish Cliff was the head coach and not Dan Quinn, so we could talk to Cliff, because he's not going to be made available. But like, we're going to get not only nuggets about this franchise in front of the media and behind the scenes, but like you're going to hear stuff about the Commanders. Dan Quinn's going to talk about these guys. And then we're going to hear from, of course, Gerard Mayo and company in New England. And the Patriots kind of have a GM now. I hope some of these quarterbacks throw and run, so it just can be the RG3 effect, lightning, not lightning in a bottle, but like with a rocket strapped to their back. Like I want Jaden Daniels to run a 4.4. I want Drake May to look like have one of the best combines in recent memory. We don't know the participants yet. We know who's been invited. I don't expect Caleb Williams to do anything other than say a few words to the media, but I want these other quarterbacks to put on a show.
Yeah. Jason asking, what are your RB draft thoughts? Third round, and then Christopher and EBEG getting in. We'll give you our thoughts. We're going to do our dueling mock drafts here coming up. It's going to be me versus Johnny. Instead of Johnny just kind of running point and drafting.
I haven't done that in a while.
Going rogue. It's going to be my mock draft versus his mock draft. And you guys will you'll decide whether or not who won.
Are we going to do rounds, 1 through 4? We'll do the top, basically the top 100.
Let's do it.
All right, we're going to do that coming up here. Justin Fields, has he been traded yet? No, but if he is, you'll know on this podcast because we're part of the inner circle, baby. Not only around the NFL, but here at Circle K. Our friends at Circle K is going to hook you up, save 25 cents per gallon on your first 5 fill-ups when you download the Circle K app today and be part of America's Thirst Stop Inner Circle. It's the new free membership program. I'm part of it. Our guy Michael Wilson is big on Circle K. And after those first 5 fill-ups are gone, you're going to save 3 cents per gallon every time moving forward. So you're saving money every time you're at Circle K, every time you're using the app. Why wouldn't you do it? And of course, you can dabble every 6 free selection on products like pizza, coffee, ice cold fountain drinks, and more. Circle K has their own snack selection. It is on point. It is elite. All you got to do, download the Circle K app today. Terms and conditions apply at participating locations. Visit circlek.com/details for more information.
And when you're loaded up on snacks, why not load up on some more? How about some delicious gummies from our friends over at OG's Brands? We're partnering with them. We always love our partnership with Arizona's favorite cannabis kitchen. That's OG's Brands. Whether you're in it for the sleep time gummy, it's going to help put you to sleep, keep you to sleep, or you're in it for, their naturals that they just launched at the beginning of the year, or the big gummies that they have that are 10 perforated slices of 100 milligrams of THC. Check out all the great products that OG's has to offer at ogsbrands.com. It's not just a one-stop shop for just one type of gummy experience. They've got something for everyone because all of us are different. We're all seeking different experiences, and they've got one for you. It's going to be tailor fit for you. Check out what OG's has going on and cook it up at ogsbrands.com, and of course at OG's Brands on social media. Learn more about OG's gummies, where you can find them, your local dispensaries, and over at ogsbrands.com. Got to be 21 years or older.
It's time for Empire Mock Draft Monday. We are pivoting. We are part of the NFL draft community, the sheep community that are pivoting our mocks to Monday to but mock and Monday go well together. We're moving our mocks off of Tuesday.
That's right.
We are pivoting to Mock Draft Monday, brought to you by our friends at Empire today, building our empire. But which empire will succeed and which will fall? Find out now. Johnny Venerable versus Bo Brack. So here's what we're going to do. We're each going to do our own mock draft. And then you guys are going to tell us, not in the chat, respectfully, in the comments below this video to help the algorithm, to tell us who won the mock draft. You go and say Johnny wins, X, Y, and Z. Bo wins, even though that probably
for show purposes, we'll have Damon Dog come on mic and give his thoughts on it.
Yes, absolutely.
Because we told Damon Dog that if he plays nice, we will give him the reins to a mock draft soon. That's going to happen. Damon Dog's going to get to draft his own Cardinals mock. But we need to settle the score real quick because we need to know who's the better mock drafter. So if you just say in the comments, not the chat, who you think's going to do it, who had the best draft. And then Damon Dog's going to tell you on air who he thought. But, I got one bone to pick, though, before we get started here, Johnny.
Yeah.
Pro Football Focus. I love the PFF mock draft simulator, but there's one big issue I've got with it. Do you know what it is?
What's that?
Jaden Daniels is their 22nd ranked prospect. So I have because I'm a mock draft fiend, I've been doing a ton of them. And at no point does Jaden Daniels actually land third with the Patriots. I mean, I've even been at the Cardinals' 27th overall selection, and there's Jaden Daniels just kind of waiting in the green room still. Feel bad for his little digital self. It's just, it's criminal what they're doing to the poor kid here on the mock draft simulator.
We don't want to see that ahead of the draft. We don't need Jaden Daniels propaganda out there. So we'll have to talk. Like, is that our guy? I think that's Trevor Sikkema, and we're gonna have to put him in his place when we see him come next week.
He agrees it's going to probably be 1, 2, 3 at quarterback. I don't know how
Trevor. Bump him up. I don't need to see him down there with Bo Nix and JJ McCarthy. How dare you? All right, I'm going to defer to my better half, Bo Brack. I'm going to give you the reins, figuratively, and I'm going to drive here. You're going to start 4 rounds, dueling mock drafts. Let's get started.
All right, this is going to be tough just because the screen is so tiny. I'm going to have to put on my corrective lenses here just to watch it. So with all that being said, I really doubt that Marvin's going to make it to me at 4 here because of where they have Jaden Daniels ranked. Really seriously doubt unless the Patriots go with another prospect that's ranked higher, maybe a Joe Alt or a Malik Neighbors, and we get Marvin Harrison Jr. So do I need to pull off a trade? I'm not going to waste your time. I'm just going to ride it out and see who's there at 4th overall.
So yes, Drake May, Caleb Williams, Marvin go 1, 2, 3.
All right. In this situation, let's see what trade's available to me. Johnny, can you hit my trade there? Looks like the Las Vegas Raiders want to come up from 13. Oh boy. That's a bit far for me to drop. Let's get off. Click on the drop down thing there. Oh man, this is terrible with you navigating it for me. Go to the trade.
Okay.
I'm gonna try to facilitate my own here. So click on that. Is it not dropping down?
It's dropped down. What's the problem?
I can't see it.
Okay. Who do you want? Tennessee Titans, New York Giants, Los Angeles Chargers, Falcons. You tell me.
Give me the Falcons.
All right, we're going to try the Falcons here. All right, 8 for 4. What else do you want to add?
Man, they have no interest in doing that, huh?
No, they feel really good about the ghost of.
Get me back to the Raiders. Let's try to pull one over the Raiders. They want to get up for Jaden Daniels or somebody. At least 13. Give me the round 1 next year, and give me their 2nd round this year. Wow. All right, take the 2nd round off and put the 3rd rounder in there.
Gross.
And look, it's too
you
far.
Want to add one of their shitty players? You want one of these scrubs? Anybody doing anything for you?
After all this is said and done, I'm going to stick and pick. Get me to draft a player.
Nice.
Draft a player. Give me Joe Alt.
Wow. Over Malik Neighbors. Joe Alt, 4th overall. I'm already going to just destroy you in this mock. I already know it.
All right. So I'm back on the clock at 27th overall. Let's see who we've got. There's Brian Thomas, Lad McConkey. It's wide receiver, not right. Wide receiver rich down the board here. I got my tackle, so I'm keeping. Looks like Paris Johnson Jr. will probably stay in the right side. We'll get Joe Alt as your franchise left tackle. Not too bad, right? So now I'm either going to go with the wide receiver I didn't get to select 4th overall or passed on, or I'm going to go with start to rebuild that defense. But I don't see too many big play defensive. Who do we have as far as defensive linemen right now available?
Scrub McGrub, not very good. Braswell, everything is going to be a reach. I think what has hurt you is there was a run on defensive linemen that took place in the teens. Byron Murphy, Jerzon Newton, Jared Verse. So, I mean, I look at this. I think the board's really fallen for you for a premium receiver.
Yeah,
as opposed to a defensive lineman.
Let's take Brian Thomas Jr. out of LSU. 27th overall. All right, so now we're at 35th overall. TJ Tampa could be an option at cornerback. Peyton Wilson, the off-ball linebacker, not ready to pull the trigger on that. Already got a pretty shored up offensive line with just the pick I made 4th overall. Slide down the draft board here. Adisa Isaac, the edge rusher, or Chop Robinson. Go back up. Why don't you let's take TJ Tampa, the cornerback out of Iowa State.
How you feeling so far, Bo?
I hate it. I hate this. This is disgusting. And now I'm sitting in the 3rd round. I've got
here you go.
Christian Haynes, the guard out of Connecticut, could just be the final piece to my puzzle. as far as my offensive line goes.
Yeah.
I took Brian Thomas, and I'm looking at this receivers. This, you know what? The worst part of this is that you're navigating this, and I'm just not comfortable at all. Not in my mock draft zone.
I haven't sabotaged anything. I feel like you're making excuses now for your poor drafting.
I just haven't gone to work on this defense. Really, I mean, I took Tampa at Iowa State.
Let's stop crying about it and let's go to the defensive line here. Tavondre Sweat's available.
Yeah.
But I think that's a little bit of a reach at this point. And then you've got Austin Booker. A lot of people are big on him. I mean, you gotta go.
Give me Christian Haynes out of UConn. I'm going to finish off the offensive line.
I like that pick. Listen, it's a very physical draft, and now you're right back on the clock. And do you dare double dip at receiver here with a couple of the draft beauties?
I'm going to take the edge out of Kansas. I'm going to take Austin Booker here.
Okay, listen. Is this a flashy draft? No, but it's very, very methodical. I don't have any issue with this draft.
Yeah. I think you get some beef up front. Looks like Michael Hall Jr., who's decent at the Senior Bowl. Can you just pull up? Can you just isolate interior defensive lineman for me, please?
I sure can.
Yeah. Michael Hall. Man, I've really just backed myself into the corner
here. Oh man.
Give me Hall. I need him.
This is the most reluctant. I guess I'll draft X player. Yeah. All right, last pick on the clock here.
I was in the lab today, just ripping off mock drafts.
And sure you were.
They went way better than this.
Sure you were.
You're gonna get Thomas. Give me Jarvis Brownlee Jr. out of Louisville here.
Wow.
Yeah.
Big 12 corners and ACC corners. Interesting choice. All right, let's see what our friends at Pro Football Focus thought. Although they're not the end-all be-all, they could skew the audience here as it relates to what grade you will receive. No trades for Bo Brack. I think they like it.
Yeah, I think I made the decision to the TJ Tampa selection was a bad.
That was a mistake. That was. I think Joe Alt and Brian Thomas Jr. together, that's tremendous value. I have Brian Thomas Jr. as a top 20 player. You know, Alt's the darling of this mock out or the draft for me outside of Marvin. I do not love 35 through 105.
Thanks, dude.
There's not a lot of pizzazz there.
Hey, me stepping in my office. Why? I'm effing fired. I'm out of here. Get your shit and get out of here. You disgust me. This is a terrible draft.
There could be some peeps in the chat that like this draft. I just, this is not worst case scenario. It's probably the nicest thing I can say about it. Does everybody have a
Well, no, just save the draft. Can't you just save the picture right there?
Yeah. Download image. Okay. Yeah. We've downloaded it. New mock draft. All right. I guess it's my turn. And there's really nowhere to go but up after that. So we're going to get started here. Full transparency, I was going to do this anyway. So we're going to talk to New England here. And I want the third overall pick, as Bo mentioned. Okay, so they're not interested. But what if I give them a little sweetener here, 137, and we're going to give them maybe a fifth rounder next year? I'm going to offer the trade. New England, not interested. Well, I don't love hearing that. So 137 is in the fifth round. What if I give them a fourth next year for the rights for Marvin Harrison Jr.? I'm going to offer that trade. Not interested. All right. So they are clearly beholden on something better than 137. So I am having to weigh now. Do I trade a fifth rounder and a third next year, which is pretty stark, or could I do this right here? So I'm going to go down this roster, and there's just a lot happening here with this roster. What if I did something to the effect of 37, okay, which is a throwaway pick to me. It means nothing. And I do a little Rondell Moore action, and I offer this trade. Let's see what happens. Not interested. What if I add a fifth rounder to that mix? Offer this trade.
It ain't happening, man.
No, I'm not interested.
She doesn't want to go out with you.
Stop stalking her. Offer this trade. No attempts remaining. Well, I did my best, chat. Everybody can understand that I tried my best. We're going to start this draft. And listen, it's probably better that this happens so we're on even playing field here. I was just I was very committed to dealing away Rondale Moore. It didn't happen. All right, so will I have more robust options here to trade down as opposed to Bo Brack? I hate these trade targets, first of all. I'm not helping the Rams, the Niners, or the Chiefs come up and get Malik Neighbors. That makes me sick to my stomach. So I'm going to go and I'm going to vet the Tennessee Titans should they want to come up for Jaden Daniels. There's no interest right now. Man, I'm going to be in the same exact boat as Bo Brack here. I don't love this either. I'm going to probably go, for the sake of some parity here, I'm going to go Neighbors 4th overall. Because I wanted to do a trade. There's just nobody wants to trade with your boy. We're going to go Malik Neighbors 4th overall. And again, it's not something that we have to stomach. He's a tremendous player. I'm looking at this board. I know exactly what I want to do. I'm going to get Tyler Guyton to take over for DJ Humphries at left tackle, 31st overall. Could I do a mini trade back and still secure him? I'm looking at the likes of Green Bay, Atlanta, and Chicago. I do not, but I also am open to the idea of dealing down from 35. So I'm going to go Tyler Guyton. And again, is Tyler Guyton and Malik Neighbors better than Joe Alt and Brian Thomas Jr.? I think there's a conversation and an argument to be had for both. Now I'm looking at Graham Barton, J.J. McCarthy, Chris Braswell. I don't love any of these options here. I'm in the same exact boat Bo was. Tennessee wants to trade. So here's what I'm going to do with Tennessee. Tennessee wants to come up. We did this little dog and pony show last year. Can I get 107? I don't love 107. Can I get a third next year? Let's offer third next year. I got a third rounder moving down 3 spots. So I already like my spot more than Bo. So I'm going to come down a couple spots. I passed on 3 guys I was not considering. Chris Braswell, no thanks. I already have my tackle. Keon Coleman, mega bust in waiting here. Chop Robinson, Darius Robinson. Here's what I think has happened is that I think the Cardinals have signed a guard in free agency, and we have our left tackle. But is it worth stashing a player the caliber of Jordan Morgan, who, according to Kyle Odegaard, friend of the show, has spoken with? Do you go all in on the offensive line, or do you desperately need a piece up front on the defensive line? That's what you're weighing right now. I am not looking at Jordan Morgan.
Can I interject?
Yes, go ahead.
I feel immense regret why I took TJ Tampa this early, where I probably should have gone the route of a Chop Robinson or a Darius Robinson.
I agree. And my inclination is, because he's a friend of this program, Darius Robinson, you are a Cardinal. But before we do that, is there a mini trade down? No, there is not. So we're going to go Darius Robinson here. I pick 38. I know PFF's not going to love that. They're going to think it's a little bit of a reach, but I don't care. I love that player. Okay.
They're not the ones that are going to grade this draft. The listeners, the viewers,
the peeps, the people that I care about. Somebody want to come up for Michael Penix? Good hell. All right. So Commanders, are they interested? They've already taken a quarterback. Patriots, can I swindle them here? What's going on? Pick 104. Okay. So nobody wants to trade with me. Everybody's being stingy with their picks. Christian Haynes, I don't know. This is where Johnny's going to dabble. Johnny's going to get a little nuts here. And you know where I'm already headed. I'm going to get a 1,000-yard receiver from the SEC that averaged 18 yards per reception. Xavier Leggett and Malik Neighbors are about to torment the NFC West for 10-plus years.
Where's he going to play?
Wherever he wants. Let the best players win. That people were asking me, you got to get a contingency plan.
Time, baby. It's time.
Yeah, don't disrespect me, right? I was talking up your draft, as tough as it was to watch. All right, so I've addressed, if we're recapping here, edge rusher / defensive line tackle, and I've gotten 2 receivers in a receiver-rich class. As much as I love these remaining receivers, I can't triple dip. That would be...
You probably will. We're going to be at the end of this thing. You're like, you know what? Why not?
See, this is like a political campaign to smear my integrity here. I'm probably going to go back to the defensive line, although I am going to see what options are available at running back. Do I get one of the best running backs in the draft in Jalen Wright, who is available here, 1,000-yard rusher, 4 touchdowns, 7.4 yards per clip at Tennessee, just under 6 foot. He's a big kid. I think it's a little rich right here, but can I make a trade? Denver Broncos want to come up. We're going to go 76, for 71. Plus, I'm going to ask for 114. We're going to offer it. Can we get back in the 4th round? We sure do. So I'm going to trade down just a couple of picks here and see what we're cooking up in Johnny's kitchen. And I'm going to go chalk like Bo. I'm going to get an edge rusher. I'm going to go Austin Booker, Kansas. So now I've drafted 2 defensive linemen. And here we sit at the end of the 3rd round. No trades to be had. I have not had an opportunity to address the secondary. I don't think I'm going to. Trevondre Sweat. I'm going to go defensive line yet again. Beef. Give me beef up front.
Better lucky than good.
I don't care.
There. I didn't have that option.
I don't care if we punt on the cornerback position a couple times. And now we're going to get spicy with the running back. I think this is going to be my spot 105. We've done our homework. We're all going to sleep well after day 2 of the draft, and we're going to go with one of our favorite players, Braylon Allen. I know some people say it's a reach. I do not. I think this is the big physical heir apparent to James Conner. I mean, look at these metrics, 6'2", 245. Can he keep his weight down? TBD, but we're drafting him 105 overall. We have another 4th rounder because I've been wheeling and dealing like nobody's business here. And then we'll just take Jarvis Brownlee Jr. because he's from our guy Jonathan Gannon's alma mater. You know that JG will love this pick. Homer pick here. And that'll do it on Johnny's mock draft here on a Mock Draft Monday, brought to you by our friends at Empire today. It's probably cooking up quite a bit here to grade this draft because it's so elite. And I will not accept anything other than A. Malik Neighbors, round 1. Tyler Guyton, round 2. Then we traded 3 spots, got a future 3rd from Tennessee. Still got Darius Robinson, Xavier Leggett. Hey, look at these contending universities. LSU, Oklahoma, Missouri had their best year to date. Stud SEC wide receiver. Then we copped an extra 4th. Kansas, defensive lineman, back-to-back out of the Big 12. One of the best running backs in college football. I don't care what the grade says. Rotational cornerback, plus our 3rd next year. I like my mock draft. Not my favorite because it doesn't contain MHJ, but still cooking with gas, Bo Brock.
Yeah, I'm actually going to quit my job, move out of state after this mock draft. I'm so embarrassed by myself right now. I can't. I just want to turn off my camera. I want to turn off my microphone. I don't want to be here any longer. I'm ill. I'm sick to my stomach.
Was that a butt kicking? Yeah. Jalen Blake took you to the word shed.
Damon, what do you think? I'm so embarrassed.
Bo, you got smoked, buddy.
I did.
I didn't appreciate
Johnny.
You going after Johnny for doubling down on receiver there. I thought that was a good play, Johnny.
Thank you, Damon.
Leggett pick.
I'm sorry. Do you not like elite pass catchers from the SEC? I do. If you're not getting Marvin,
I got one. I got Brian Thomas Jr. Oh, yeah, because I got Michael Wilson. You got Michael Wilson. I got Trey McBride.
I'm saying this to you as your friend. Watching you do that mock draft, I would have never have thought you had done one of those before. I'm going to tell you what I've done before. I've done the Arizona Lottery, and newsflash, it's made me a richer man. Check them out, Arizona Lottery. They got so much good stuff going on. We're winning big here, or at least one of us is on our mock draft. The Arizona Lottery is introducing a new unique way to help you win big on a new ticket promotion called Arizona Adventure. There are 3 ways to play and win big. Play Arizona Adventure Lottery tickets featuring 3 iconic landscapes here in the Valley. These tickets have prizes up to 50 grand. They've got Camelback Mountain and more. Check them out. There's 10 different destinations across the state from Flagstaff to Yuma. All you got to do, visit azadventure.com for details and directions, or enter online for a chance to win $1 million in cash and Arizona travel prizes. They are a fantastic way to help them support environmental conservation, among all other important initiatives across this fine state. The Arizona Lottery is not just about playing games and winning prizes. It's also about giving back to the state and its communities. You love hearing that. Visit azadventure.com for more information on how you can take an adventure for a chance to win $1 million in cash and travel prizes here in the desert.
I'm going to drive down to my Circle K in the corner and buy a couple of those Arizona Adventure Lottery tickets because I took a huge L today. I did. It's undeniable. It's undeniable. I'll be lucky to leave this room and my family still be in the house. They might have already packed the things up and left me because I'm such a loser.
Oh,
Girth
come on.
Jr.
You're too hard. Stop trying to get people to feel sorry for you. Like,
No,
come on.
it's
I
not.
feel like you're
It's
laying on a
legit. It's a
toothpick.
giant. It's just I'm going to sit here like this, and people. I think I got relegated out of mock drafting the rest of the way. They want Johnny versus Damon next time. Maybe we're going to have to give it to him.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. You know,
Here's what I will say. People in the chat are saying you should have wheeled and dealed more. That's a deterrent when you're not driving. And so we'll have to figure out a way.
I'll take over on my screen next time when I'm.
Yeah, we'll give you the login information. Bowl drive next time. Listen, it's not going to hamper me like it did Bo, but I can admit that was a deterrent of Bo's success.
I'm looking at like this little tiny font. I mean,
if the Cardinals draft TJ Tampa 35th overall, that would be so egregious, and I will blame you dating back to this show. So keep that in mind.
I cringe. It's like when you say something stupid in front of somebody you respect, you think about it down the
It's
line.
like when you talk to Gannon in the parking lot.
TJ, yeah. Let's effing I got these guys, man. Yeah. Oh man.
Let's take this Big 12 corner. I'm sure he's a good player. Yeah, let's take him 35th overall when there's like 3 or 4 first-round caliber defensive linemen still there.
Yeah.
Oh man, I love it so much.
You want better insight? You want better insight than that? You got to check out our friends over at GoPHNX.com. No doubt about it. Johnny's his mock draft that's still up there alive, way better than TJ Tampa in the second round. See who he selected with the 35th overall pick. Also some wheeling and dealing. See Johnny's work, GoPHNX.com. Also our mock draft tracker, which is going to keep you up to date with all the mock drafters, not behind the paywall, but you'll get exclusive access to our member Discord if you become a diehard today. Look, don't waste any more time. Get exclusive insight into the Cardinals offseason by becoming a diehard. Also access to all of our peers here at PHNX. Gerald Brigay covering the Suns, Craig Morgan covering the Coyotes and their ongoing arena saga. Don't delay any longer. Go PHNX.com and become a diehard. Get that exclusive membership to that exclusive Discord, and the conversation will continue with people roasting me in the member Discord chat for PHNX Cardinals.
I love looking back at the chat because I can't see it while I'm running it. And there's some positive comments on both ends. Somebody just said, good job not taking any off-ball linebackers. So I think that's a win for both of us. But no, Leggett's a really good player. If you like, I didn't watch a ton of South Carolina football, but anytime I did, it felt like he was always open.
You're coming back to just kind of to just glaze over your own pick.
Yeah, I just want to relish into my mock draft dominance yet again. Like, again, if you're getting Malik Neighbors and Xavier Leggett to go along with Michael Wilson, and you get Tyler Guyton, I mean, it's pretty solid. This is almost better that Marvin's not available for us on these mocks because it forces us to get creative too. Yeah. Like it forces us, and when we do our fan mocks on Fridays, the chat, everybody you have to step outside your comfort zone. I didn't like that. I tried feverishly to get up to third overall, and the Patriots just weren't having it. Illit Dre, $4.99. Even though you lost to Johnny, I still believe in you, Bo. Wow, how about that? See, your supporters are still here, hanging on.
Thank you.
Hanging on by a thread.
If they're not, I understand why.
Jack Smith. Bo didn't have his Monty bald cap on.
That's true. Maybe that was it. Could I look more ridiculous? I've got a stupid longhorn over my shoulder here, and I'm just. What is that? Are you throwing?
That's like when the balloons came last week. Oh man, this is the exact kind of show we needed to kick off this week. If you just joined us, Mike Evans not going to be a Cardinal. Calvin Ridley not going to be a Cardinal. We're Cardinal fans. We're diehards. You should be a diehard at GoPHNX.com. Just a few more shows in the fold here in the desert before Bo, Damon Dog, and I, and more head out to Indianapolis for the Combine, your premier Combine coverage of this team, the Arizona Cardinals, like nobody else does it. So if you need a reminder what our shows look like last year, they're cataloged on our YouTube page here at PHNX Sports, but we get the biggest guests, the best access. We're frontline for every single draft prospect that you want to hear from and more. Austin, Ford, Gannon. The content is going to be rolling, Bo, and it's going to be glorious.
Yeah, it's going to be nonstop. It's going to be the only insight you're going to get from Indy next week. It's going to be right here at PHNX Cardinals. I might not go any longer. Actually, Saul might throw me off the show after that mock draft if you see me just kind of wandering around the streets of Phoenix or Old Town Scottsdale, and I've grown this beard out and I look like I need maybe got a cup, probably throw some change in it because I'm on hard times because this mock draft has ruined my life. It really has.
Time will take you in. You guys that's draft bus buddies.
We'll be the bus buddy. We'll be roommates living in a 2-bedroom somewhere. It'll be great.
You'll be remembered for TJ Tampa like he's remembered for Andy Isabella. God's plan. Robert Morbeau, I'm going to dominate this draft. Johnny Venerable and PFF. The FUR. That's right. That's exactly right. No better way to encapsulate this hot mess of a show here on a Football Monday. We're back tomorrow, manana. It's Tuesday, tag day in the NFL. Will we have more clarity on the likes of Brian Burns, Justin Matabuke, and more? Be sure to like, subscribe, leave us a 5-star wherever you get your podcast. Damon Dog, behind the mic, Bo Brock. I'm Johnny Venerable. We'll see you manana. Peace.
We all silly like the mayor.